Success is lonely. The higher you climb, the fewer people you'll find. Friends will disappear, doubts will creep in, and the world will test you. But here's the truth: if you can walk that road alone, nothing can stop you. Are you ready? Not everyone will support you. That's just how it is. The moment you decide to chase something bigger, the moment you choose to step out of the crowd and carve your own path, people will start disappearing. Friends who used to be there will fade away. Family might not understand. People you thought would cheer for you will be the first to doubt you. And that's the reality of success. It's a lonely road. But here's what you need to understand. Just because you're walking alone doesn't mean you're on the wrong path. In fact, it means you're on the right one. See, most people don't dream big because it's uncomfortable. It's easy to stay where you are. It's easy to be part of the crowd, to follow the path that's already been laid out, to do what's expected. But the moment you decide to break free from that, the moment you say, I want more, people will question you. They'll doubt you. Some will even laugh at you. Not because they don't want you to succeed, but because your ambition makes them uncomfortable. Your drive reminds them of their own fears, their own excuses, and instead of rising with you, they'll try to pull you back down. You have to be ready for that. You have to be ready for the silence, for the loneliness, for the moments when it feels like no one is in your corner. Because if you're chasing something that truly matters, if you're building something real, there will be times when you feel like you're on this journey all by yourself. And that's okay. That's how it's supposed to be, because success isn't for the weak. It's not for those who need constant validation, who need a crowd cheering for them at every step. It's for those who can walk through the fire alone and still keep going. Think about it. Every great person, every leader, every game changer in history had to walk a lonely road. They had to believe in themselves when no one else did. They had to wake up every day and push forward, even when the people closest to them didn't understand why. And that's what separates those who make it from those who don't. The ones who make it don't quit just because they feel alone. They don't stop just because people doubt them. They use that doubt as fuel. They let it push them harder. So if you're feeling alone right now, if you're walking this road and it feels like no one understands, good. That means you're on the right track. That means you're doing something different. That means you're breaking free from the average, from the ordinary. And that's exactly what success requires. But here's the most important part: you can't let the loneliness break you. You can't let the silence make you stop. Because most people don't fail because they're not good enough. They don't fail because they don't have talent. They fail because they can't handle being alone. They can't handle the quiet moments when there's no applause, no recognition, no one there to tell them they're doing the right thing. But those moments, those lonely nights, those days when you feel like no one sees you, that's where the real work happens. That's where you grow. That's where you build the strength, the resilience, the fire that will carry you through. So embrace it. Embrace the loneliness. Use it. Let it sharpen you. Let it mold you into someone who doesn't need validation, who doesn't need approval, who doesn't need anyone to tell them they're good enough. Because when you get to that point, when you learn to walk alone and still keep going, that's when you become unstoppable. That's when you realize that success was never about who was with you or who supported you. It was always about you and the choices you were willing to make. So make the choice. Keep walking. Keep pushing. And remember, you don't need everyone to believe in you. You just need to believe in yourself. That's all it takes. Discipline beats motivation every single time. Motivation is like a spark. It gets you excited. It makes you feel like you can conquer the world. But here's the problem: that spark fades. That fire you felt when you watch an inspiring video, when you read a powerful quote, when you told yourself you were going to change, it disappears the moment things get tough. When the alarm clock goes off at 5 a.m., motivation won't get you out of bed. When you're tired, when you're frustrated, when you feel like giving up, motivation won't be there to push you forward. But discipline doesn't care how you feel. Discipline is what gets you up anyway. Discipline is what makes you do the work even when you don't want to. See, too many people rely on motivation to chase their dreams. They wait for that perfect moment, that perfect feeling, that perfect burst of energy to take action. But success doesn't come to those who wait for motivation. It comes to those who show up no matter what. The greats, the ones who make it to the top, they don't rely on feelings. They don't wait for the right mood to work hard. They train themselves to do it regardless of how they feel. That's the difference between winners and everyone else. You think the best athletes feel like training every day? You think the most successful people wake up every morning feeling excited to grind? No. They wake up tired. They wake up sore. They wake up facing the same doubts and fears as everyone else. But they don't give in to it. They don't wait for inspiration to strike. They don't negotiate with themselves. They made a decision and they stick to it. That's what discipline is, doing what needs to be done even when you don't feel like doing it. You have to train yourself to move without emotion, to work without waiting for the perfect conditions. Because life won't always give you the perfect moment. Life won't always make it easy for you. There will be days when you're exhausted, when nothing seems to be going your way, when every part of you wants to stop. Those are the moments that define you. Those are the moments where success is built. Because if you can push through those days, if you can keep going when everything in you wants to quit, you become unstoppable. Most people fail not because they're not talented, not because they're not capable, but because they can't stay consistent. They start strong, but the moment it gets hard, they back off. The moment the excitement wears off, they stop showing up. And that's why they stay stuck. That's why they never reach their full potential. They let their emotions dictate their actions instead of training their mind to push through. But if you want to be great, if you want to win, you can't afford to be like most people. You have to develop the kind of discipline that makes you unstoppable. The kind of discipline that says, I don't care if I'm tired. I don't care if I don't feel like it. I made a commitment and I'm going to follow through. Because that's what separates the dreamers from the doers. That's what separates those who talk about success from those who actually achieve it. It won't be easy. There will be days when you don't want to do it. Days when you question if it's even worth it. But that's the test. That's the moment where you either rise or fall. And if you can train yourself to keep going, even when you don't feel like it, even when it's uncomfortable, that's when you start winning. That's when you start building something real. So stop waiting for motivation. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. Stop waiting for life to make it easy for you. Make the decision today, right now, that no matter what, you will show up. That no matter how you feel, you will put in the work. Because at the end of the day, discipline is what separates the ones who make it from the ones who don't. And if you master discipline, there's nothing in this world that can stop you. Failure is part of the journey. Read that again. Let it sink in. Because too many people treat failure like it's the end, like it's proof that they weren't meant to succeed. They fall once and they never get back up. They hit a setback and they let it define them. But the truth is, failure isn't the enemy. It's the teacher. It's the test. It's the thing that separates those who are serious from those who are just playing around. Because if you can't handle failure, if you can't take a hit and keep moving, you're not ready for success. Every great person, every champion, every leader you admire, guess what? They failed. And not just once. They failed over and over again. They lost. They made mistakes. They fell flat on their face. But they didn't stay down. That's the difference. They understood that failure isn't there to stop you. It's there to sharpen you, to make you stronger, to show you what you need to fix, what you need to learn, what you need to become. See, the world has convinced people that failure is something to be ashamed of. That if you fail, it means you weren't good enough. But that's a lie. Failure is proof that you tried. Proof that you stepped up, that you took the risk, that you were brave enough to go after something bigger. The only people who never fail are the ones who never try. The ones who sit on the sidelines, watching, criticizing, pointing fingers, too afraid to take the shot themselves. But you can't afford to be one of them. When failure comes, and trust me, it will come, you have two choices. You can let it break you, or you can let it build you. You can cry about it, complain about it, blame the world, or you can stand up, dust yourself off, and figure out what's next. You can let failure be the reason you quit, or you can let it be the fuel that pushes you harder. That's on you. Look around. Everything you admire, everything that inspires you was built on failure. The greatest businesses built by people who failed dozens of times before they got it right. The greatest athletes lost more games than they won before they became champions. The greatest artists, writers, innovators faced rejection so many times that most people would have given up. But they didn't. They kept going. They learned. They adjusted. And because they didn't let failure define them, they made history. So what about you? When you fail, because you will, what are you going to do? Are you going to give up? Or are you going to rise? Are you going to let failure be the reason you stop or the reason you push even harder? Because the truth is, every time you fail, you're getting closer. Every time you fall, you're learning something. Every mistake, every setback, every rejection, it's all preparing you, molding you, shaping you into the person you need to be. The only real failure is quitting. As long as you're still standing, as long as you're still fighting, you haven't lost. You're still in the game. And one day you're going to look back on every failure, every tough moment, and realize that it was all necessary. That without it, you wouldn't be who you are. That every setback was just setting you up for something greater. So don't fear failure. Don't run from it. Face it, embrace it, learn from it, and then get back up stronger, wiser, and more determined than ever. Because failure isn't the end of the road, it's just part of the process. And if you keep going, one day you'll look back and realize failure was the best thing that ever happened to you. Sacrifice is necessary. That's the truth most people don't want to hear. Everyone wants success, but not everyone is willing to give up what it takes to get there. People want the rewards, the achievements, the respect, but they don't want to lose sleep. They don't want to miss out. They don't want to feel uncomfortable. And that's why most people stay exactly where they are, because they refuse to make the sacrifices that separate the great from the average. You cannot have success and comfort at the same time. You can't build something great while clinging to what's easy. At some point, you will have to make a choice between the life you want and the distractions that are holding you back, a choice between discipline and laziness, a choice between staying the same or becoming someone better. And make no mistake, this won't be easy. You're going to have to let go of things, maybe even people. You're going to have to turn down invitations, miss out on fun, and endure nights when it feels like no one understands what you're doing. But that's the price. That's what it takes. Look at the greats. Look at the ones who made it. They didn't get there by luck. They didn't get there by wishing. They got there by sacrifice, by putting in the hours when no one was watching, by making the tough choices that others avoided, by stepping away from distractions and staying locked in on their purpose. They knew that every time they said yes to their dreams, they had to say no to something else. No to wasting time. No to bad habits. No to the people who didn't support their vision. And because they had the courage to sacrifice, they became unstoppable. You can't expect to live like everyone else and end up different. If you want something extraordinary, you have to be willing to do what most people won't. That means waking up earlier. That means staying up later. That means putting in extra hours while others relax. That means saying no when it's easier to say yes. It means being uncomfortable, being exhausted, being tested, and still showing up. That's what separates those who win from those who watch others win. And here's the hardest part sometimes: the sacrifices won't make sense to others. You'll have people telling you to relax, to take it easy, to enjoy life. They won't understand why you're working so hard, why you're obsessed, why you're so focused. And if you're not careful, their words will get in your head. You'll start questioning yourself, wondering if you're missing out, wondering if it's worth it. But let me tell you something: what you're building is bigger than their opinions. What you're working for is greater than their understanding. Because while they're living for the moment, you're building something that lasts. While they're taking shortcuts, you're putting in real work. While they're wasting time, you're making every second count. Sacrifice now so you can live differently later. Work while they sleep. Learn while they party. Train while they make excuses. Do what others won't today so you can have what they can't tomorrow. Because one day, all those late nights, all those early mornings, all those times you said no to distractions, it's all going to pay off. And when that day comes, the same people who doubted you, who told you to take it easy, will be the ones asking how you did it. So don't fear sacrifice. Don't run from it. Embrace it. Because every time you give something up for your dreams, you're making space for something greater. And when you finally make it, when you look back on the journey, you'll realize that every sacrifice was worth it. Never stop growing. Never stop learning. The moment you think you've made it, the moment you believe you know everything, that's the moment you start losing. Because success isn't a destination, it's a process. It's a journey of constant improvement, of pushing yourself to be better, to know more, to refine your skills, your mindset, your discipline. And if you ever stop growing, if you ever stop pushing, you won't just stay the same, you'll start falling behind. The world is always moving. It's always evolving. And if you're not growing, you're getting left behind. Too many people reach a certain level and get comfortable. They hit a milestone and they slow down. They achieve something and they think that's enough. But that's the difference between those who stay at the top and those who fade away. The ones who stay hungry, the ones who stay learning, the ones who never settle, those are the ones who keep winning. No matter how good you are today, there's always another level. No matter how much you know, there's always more to learn. And that mindset, that hunger to keep growing, that's what separates the greats from the rest. Look at the best athletes, the best leaders, the best performers in the world. They don't sit back and relax just because they've won. They don't take it easy just because they've reached a certain level. No, they train harder. They study more. They work like they're still at the bottom, even when they're at the top. Because they know that the moment they stop improving, someone else is coming to take their place. You have to be obsessed with growth. You have to wake up every day asking yourself, how can I get better? You have to be willing to challenge yourself, to step outside your comfort zone, to push yourself into areas where you feel uncomfortable. Because growth doesn't happen in comfort. Growth happens when you stretch yourself, when you take on new challenges, when you force yourself to do things that scare you. And if you're not doing that, you're not growing, you're just existing. Read more, study more. Surround yourself with people who challenge you, who make you think bigger, who push you to be better. If you're always the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. If you're always the most skilled, the most experienced, then you're not growing. You need to put yourself in situations where you feel like a beginner again, where you have to work to keep up. Because that's how you sharpen your edge. That's how you keep leveling up. And don't just grow in one area, grow in every area. Strengthen your mind, your body, your discipline. Develop new skills. Learn things that don't just help you today, but will prepare you for the future. Because the people who keep growing, who keep learning, who keep evolving, they are the ones who can't be stopped. But here's the key: you have to want it. No one can force you to grow. No one can make you push yourself. You have to decide that being average is not enough. That staying the same is not an option. That every single day you are going to do something to improve, to sharpen yourself, to become a better version of who you were yesterday. Because success is never owned, it's rented, and the rent is due every single day. So don't settle. Don't get comfortable. Don't ever think you've made it. Keep learning, keep growing, keep pushing. Because the ones who never stop improving, they're the ones who never stop winning. Success is a lonely road, but it's a road worth walking. Discipline will carry you when motivation fades. Failure isn't the end, it's the lesson. Sacrifice isn't a choice, it's the price. Growth isn't optional, it's the key to staying ahead. Most people quit when the journey gets tough, but you keep going. You push forward when others fall back. Because greatness doesn't belong to the lucky or the talented, it belongs to those who refuse to stop. Walk that road. Own the struggle. Embrace the grind. And one day you'll stand at the top, knowing every step, every sacrifice, every moment of pain was worth it. Keep moving, keep fighting. Your destiny is waiting.